The Crimson Caller, a summoning horror tale. Jake and Megan had just moved to the quiet town of Dark Hollow, a place that felt frozen in time, filled with strange stories and darker secrets. The locals whispered of an urban legend, a malevolent spirit known as the Crimson Caller. According to the tales, the caller was an evil force that would answer anyone who dared summon it by name. And when the call was made, blood was bound to follow. Despite the legend's chilling details, Jake and Megan couldn't resist testing it, laughing off the warnings as nothing more than ghost stories. One night, in the dim glow of candlelight, the couple decided to try summoning the Crimson Caller. Sitting at a table in the living room, surrounded by flickering shadows, they joined hands and chanted in whispers, calling the spirit's name. Their voices trembled slightly, but Jake wore a confident smirk, dismissing any real danger. Once their chant faded, silence blanketed the room, tense and suffocating. Then Jake's phone buzzed in his pocket. He chuckled nervously, figuring it was just a friend playing along, until he saw the caller ID, which read only, "Unknown." Grinning, he answered the call, expecting a prank, but his smirk vanished as a cold, raspy voice whispered from the other end. "Jake, I see you." The voice was chilling, dripping with malice, and sent an icy shiver down his spine. Megan noticed his sudden pallor and leaned closer, whispering, "Who is it?" But Jake could barely manage a response as the voice on the phone laughed softly, a sound like gravel scraping against metal. "Are you ready to bleed?" Shaken, Jake hung up, trying to laugh it off as a prank gone too far. But the unease lingered, gnawing at him. They decided to go to bed, though the silence of the house now felt too thick, as though something watched them from the shadows. Hours passed, and eventually they drifted into a fitful sleep. In the middle of the night, Jake awoke to an odd, sticky warmth on his hand. Confused, he flicked on the bedside lamp and froze in horror. His hand was soaked in blood. Beside him, Megan lay motionless, her throat slashed open, her face twisted in terror. The sight jolted him fully awake, and he stumbled back, heart pounding. Gasping, he fumbled for his phone and dialed 911, desperation tightening his voice. The police arrived quickly, lights flashing in the night, and Officer Gray entered, gun in hand. He surveyed the room, expression grim, before turning to face Jake, who was shaking and trying to explain through choked breaths. "Officer, you have to believe me. It was him. The Crimson Caller did this. He called, and then she was gone." Jake's voice wavered, eyes wild with panic, but Officer Gray looked at him with skepticism, arms crossed. "An urban legend did this?" Gray's tone was skeptical, and Jake's blood-stained hands and frantic story only made him seem more suspicious. Gray continued to look around the house and found no signs of a break-in, no signs of anyone but Jake and Megan ever being there. The officer's expression grew colder as he scanned Jake from head to toe, his gaze settling on the blood that stained Jake's trembling hands. "Listen, son, there's no sign anyone else was here," Gray said, voice hardening. "No footprints, no broken windows. Just you and Megan. Are you sure you're not hiding something?" His words cut through the air, heavy with accusation, as Jake's heart pounded with dread. "I swear, officer," Jake pleaded, nearly sobbing. "It was him. We summoned him, and now Megan is gone. Please, please, you have to believe me." Just as Gray was about to respond, the phone on the table began to ring. Both men turned toward it, and Jake's face went white. He could feel the air thickening, growing colder as a familiar sense of dread washed over him. The caller ID once again showed unknown. Gray watched as Jake's face twisted in terror. Trembling, Jake picked up the phone, unable to resist the compulsion to answer. The familiar, sinister whisper echoed through the line, and Jake's skin crawled with horror. "You summoned me, Jake. Now I am bound to you." Desperation overtook him as he spoke into the receiver, begging, "Please, wait, please, leave me alone." But the caller only laughed, a low, mocking sound. "Not until I'm finished," it hissed, and then the line went dead, leaving Jake standing there, breathless and shaken. Officer Gray, watching Jake with growing suspicion, spoke with a cold calm. "What's going on, Jake?" he asked, but Jake could only mutter about the caller, pleading with Gray to believe his story. Gray's face grew hard as he took in the scene, convinced Jake's ramblings were nothing but guilt or madness. "I'm not seeing anyone else here, Jake," Officer Gray said flatly. "Just a blood-stained mess and you, ranting about some ghost story. You wanted to play with spirits, and now you've got your answer. But it doesn't change the fact that you're the only one here with blood on his hands." Defeated and terrified, Jake's shoulders slumped as he was led outside toward the police car. The weight of Megan's loss and the lingering horror crushed him, though the fear of the Crimson Caller's lingering presence felt even worse. As Officer Gray secured Jake in the car, a faint ringing sound echoed from the house. Jake's phone, left forgotten on the blood-stained table, buzzed with a single call. The camera zoomed in, focusing on the glowing caller ID, displaying the familiar unknown. And from inside the house, a faint, sinister laugh seemed to echo, blending into the silence. The Crimson Caller's voice whispered once more, chilling and taunting, "See you soon, Jake." As the screen fades to black, the haunting sound of a ringing phone lingers, endless and unrelenting, leaving the terrifying sense that Jake's nightmare was only just beginning.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. And turn on notifications to never miss an episode.